Hi everyone, my name is Courtney. I am Fiber Fox Studios and I want to welcome you to Mosaic Monday. We are going to be doing an overview of how you can take any pattern on my channel, work a flat piece, little flat panel, and then fold it and add a side and handle to it in order to create a messenger bag. So for the tutorial, I am going to be showing you on a different swatch. And you, of course, can create a flat, long handle worked in just traditional crochet methods in a solid color, or you can work a mosaic design and work your side and strap all in a mosaic that you will be attaching to the body of the bag to create your messenger bag. So it's just an overview telling you about different options and things to look for when you're choosing patterns. And then, of course, I do go over how we construct the actual bag itself using the different components. And I take you through how you can line it if you do choose to do so. And I show a little tip that I have on how you can add some actual structure to the bag using some plastic cutting boards from the dollar store. So I'm going to walk you through each of the steps necessary to do this. And the crochet tutorial for the dyad stitch worked flat will be up early next week for those of you who want to use the same stitch. But we start with the body of the bag, so you'll be choosing your body and then choosing a pattern to do on the handle and side piece if you want to do mosaic, or of course, like I mentioned, you can work a solid flat piece in traditional crochet method, single crochet or double crochet, that you can add to your bag and use as your side and strap if you do not want to use mosaic for that portion of it. I'll take you through all the steps and show you how to do your joins and what things to look out for. You'll hop down to the description for more information and playlists where you can find different patterns that you might want to consider. You'll be choosing a pattern, working a flat swatch, and then choosing a handle option and working that and coming back to this video to go through the construction. But absolutely any pattern on the channel could be worked into a messenger bag just like I'm about to show you. So make sure you're giving this video a thumbs up if you do find it helpful, and make sure that you are subscribed, and comments down below are always appreciated. So let's jump into it. To begin your messenger bag, you are going to be thinking in terms of total width of your bag, and then your piece that you're going to make working flat is going to represent the total height of your bag and the front flap of the messenger bag. So I'll be folding this in just a moment. I want to talk about when you are choosing your pattern. If you look down in the description on whatever pattern you choose, there is going to be project counts already figured out for you down there. So you're going to be looking for the wide scarf or a rectangular shawl. Those are the ones that are going to be the counts that will be in the size that you're looking for your messenger bag. But of course, you can always completely customize the size and make mini bags or very large bags. It's really up to you. But for this particular piece that I'm going to do, this is one of my samples from the Dahlia's Diamond series. And I just had this long sample. I was going to make it a wide scarf. Now I'm going to use it for this messenger bag instead. So I've abandoned that project. And that will be a great starting place for some of you. If you had a scarf or a shawl that you had worked and it's similar to a size bag that you would like, you can use it if you hadn't finished it. That's what I'm doing here. But of course, you can pick anything you want, and then you're going to look at that particular pattern for the details on how many chains you need to make your messenger bag body and flap all in one. So on this particular one, because of the pattern size, it's a larger multiple, I am able to get away with doing 2 repeats wide, and then I did 1, 2, 3.5 repeats tall. So I am ending it in a place where when I fold it, I can have it kind of complete the pattern that it matches up with. So let's talk about how we fold it. Next step, and you'll be doing this if you're working a swatch or a piece to turn into your messenger bag, you can, as you're working to figure out your total length of the piece that you need, you can just stop and fold it and see how it's looking. When it gets to the size that you want, you can end the pattern there or work that repeat and finish up there. Either way, all you have to do is flip it over so that the wrong side is facing you. And then you're going to take the bottom edge and you're going to bring that up and kind of pick a point where you think you would like for the depth of your bag. Keep in mind that it's going to be kind of box bottom because we're going to be adding our sides on to make our strap and sides all together. So you do need to consider that maybe an inch or two, depending on how wide you go, is going to be the bottom of the bag. So make sure you take that into consideration when you're picking how much to fold this up. And then you're going to bring the top part down and just fold it over and figure out where you want it to stop. Once you do that, you have your messenger bag and the folding flap for the closure. Now, I stopped my pattern midway, so I want to line mine up so that it's kind of finishing out one that it covers. I want to look at back here what I'm covering up and try to match that up and decide where I want it to end or this to lay. Now we need to grab stitch markers. Fold this back if you're happy with the size. Adjust it however you need to. But once you're happy, you need to now mark with a stitch marker where I am going to be marking that my fold will be. And the reason we want to mark this is we have to line up our strap. And so we don't want to have to redo everything or get ourselves out of whack and have our bag joined where we have this side here and maybe side drop down by accident. You don't want it to be uneven or wonky. So now that we've marked where we're ending right here, where our fold's going to stop, we can trace that over all the way to here. And we can add another stitch marker. So we just want to mark that row on both sides. Slip in our stitch marker and we are good to go. So now that I've marked it, I'm going to be able to take my strap that I've made. So I took the dyad stitch, working flat, and I made a very long starting chain in this pattern's multiple. I did 200 chains, and then I added 4 onto the end for a total of 204 starting chains. So I worked a very long piece that is acting as my side of the bag and the strap. What you want to consider when you pick a pattern to do this on the side is the total number of rows of that pattern is going to be far more important than the actual multiple that you need to create the pattern. Because when you're making the sides and the strap, you have a lot of chains to work with because it's going to be long. And you can adjust it for your height or how low you wanted the bag to go, what yarn you're using, and your tension. So you can completely adjust and customize the total length of the sides and strap. It's up to you. You just want to make sure that the pattern is not too tall of a pattern. So if you have chosen one that is 24 rows tall, that is going to make a very, very wide side, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but your strap will also be very wide as well. And that you may not like. A workaround for that, if you do choose a pattern, you want a wide side, is once you have joined it, instead of leaving your strap like I am leaving mine, which is just in its flat position, if it is extremely wide, you could come in on the back side, bringing this together and stitching it, like doing a slip stitch or just your yarn needle. And you could bring the flat pattern together on the back. It will, of course, have a ridge, but that would give you a thick, sturdy strap that's not so wide. So that's one way to customize it. But I just recommend, in general, sticking with shorter patterns. Something like the dyad stitch worked flat is perfect for this because you can do it as long and as wide as you want it to be, or as tall as you want it to be. Because remember, you're going to work it flat, so you're working a long flat. In my case, I started with 204 chains, so almost like a blanket, but I just did like 7-8 rows to create the thickness of my strap inside that I wanted. So it's up to you, you can customize. I am going to show how we begin our join just with a little sample piece, because you get the concept. You are not going to make a tiny side. You're making a long strap, and then we're going to join it the same way I'm about to show you. Okay, I pulled out one that's just a little bit longer so that you can see what we're doing, how we begin to join. In your case, please remember this is going to be substantially long. Your total strap and both of your sides all worked as one long solid piece. I recommend that you move to your starting side first and just handle those tails so you do not forget to knot anything. Remember, your starting side tails have not been knotted yet. At the end of your row, we've already done a knotted bind off that I show you in the video at row 3. I may show it in some of the early ones in the first and second rows as well. But anyway, point being, these are already knotted, so we could technically move to just sewing these in on the back side and then clipping our excess. But over here on our starting side, we do not have that option yet. We have to knot. So real quick, we're going to knot, do a knotted bind off, and then we are going to be sewing them in on the back side and clipping off the excess. So most of that for me will be done off camera. I'm just going to do what I have to do in order to show y'all this concept. So I chain up 2, and then I cinch that down. So I make that little knot there at the end. So we want to make sure that we do this on every single row, working every tail. So you insert. If you look at the back side, you can see where your tail's coming out. Make sure you don't go into the exact same position as where that tail is coming out. You want there to be other yarn involved. Now we are going to grab and we chain 1 and 2. Pull out that end and pull up on the tail as you cinch down with your fingers. So you're going to do that on all of them. And then you want to come to the back side, again, to the wrong side. And after you have knotted all of these, you're going to come here on the back, find the closest loop that you can fit into easily. Grab that tail, keeping it in the same color row. And you're going to pull it here to the back side, pulling up that loop. And then you can chain 2. And you can knot that down. Over here, do that again, coming over near where the tail is falling, so where it naturally wants to lay. You can insert in near it, and then we're going to grab and pull up a loop. And then, because my tail is short, I'm just going to chain 1 this time. And cinch it down. Make sure that you hold on to your work. Don't go yanking on it real hard, because you could cinch everything together and pull it really tight and kind of draw in your work. You don't want to do that. So just kind of place your thumb on the rest of this row and then cinch down. And you'll be good to go. You're going to keep repeating that until you have no more tails. Clip off all the excess and then meet up with me for adding on our strap and sides. So after you have handled all those ends, sewn them in, done the knotted bind off, whatever way you chose to do it, we need to go through, and this is how I handle the little frizzed out tail at the end after I've clipped it off. I just kind of rub my fingers over that tail. And I also typically would not have them in a line because that's more noticeable. But in this case, I'm going to be lining this bag, so I'm not actually going to be able to see, so it doesn't matter. But that would be my other tip, is don't line them all up in a row because it will be more noticeable. But as you can see, once you go through and kind of fray the yarn that is left, they start becoming way less noticeable. Now we can go ahead and move to joining on the actual strap inside. So this time we are going to be folding with the wrong side facing out. So we're still going to pay attention to our stitch markers to find that row. Here's the row. That's where we want the end of our bag, this top edge over here. This is the opening. We want that to line up over here with the same row that we marked with our stitch marker. And you want, of course, do that over here on the other side as well. So we want to make sure we're lined up. And now we're going to grab our strip, our very long strip in your case, of our side and strap. So here's my pretend strap inside. And I am going to be lining this up over here on a side. It doesn't matter which side you start with. Main thing being, if you are doing a mosaic pattern for your side and strap, you want to make sure that the right side where the design shows is facing in, so that when we turn this bag back right side out, you will have your mosaic facing outward and not stuck inside your bag where nobody's going to see it. So you are going to begin your join down here. The reason being is we want to lock in where this is lining up so that we can make sure to keep everything straight. Down here we have our stitch marker. We make sure that we keep edge right here of our bag body lined up at all times. So I'm bringing it in closer so you can take a look. I'm just going to be choosing where my bag is going to be lining up with the bottom of the strap and the side. And the way that I choose this is I'm actually going to put this guy up in there like I would if I had it already joined. So I've placed it here on the inside. And I'm just kind of lining everything up. And you, of course, can take stitch markers, pin everything in place so that nothing shifts on you. That's always a great way to keep things in place. I'm, of course, going to rough it and do it how I always do. So I want to make sure I'm taking consideration in to this section down here. This is the bottom edge of my side, and this would be the box bottom part of my bag. So I will begin here with this tail. I'm just going to join it in to the adjacent row on the actual messenger bag body. So we're at the bottom. And I'm just going to take the tail and pull it up and through. And then I'm going to knot that tail to kind of lock in that position of where my strap inside is going to be at the bottom of the bag. I want to move along and do the same thing with my other tails that I have here on my strap. So when I go to the next tail, next row, insert in, I'm going to grab my tail and pull it on through, and then do my bind off by chaining up 2 and cinching that down. And you'll continue and do this on each, just depending on how wide your strap is. You're going to do it on each one, and then we'll start moving up the side with new yarn. Our bottom of our bag is going to be about 1 inch in this instance. Now we can begin to work up the side, joining to the end of the front portion of the main body of the bag. And then we will do the same join, starting here at the base again of the purse and moving up. And stopping at the same, now it's the marked row, so you keep the same position on both of those sides. So it's going to be very, very easy from here, and hopefully you won't even need this instruction. You kind of see what we're doing and you're able to jump ahead and do your bag completely, but I'll walk you through this joining part, and then we will talk about how you can do a liner on the inside. So I'm inserting here into the very first stitch of the strap portion, and now I'm going to find the corresponding vacant stitch here on the actual messenger bag. So I'm going to go into that, and you can use obviously matching yarn to your project. I'm actually going to use a completely different color yarn so that it is really easy for you to see where the yarn is going and what we are doing here. So we are inserted in, working from the bottom of our bag up the side to the top or opening of the bag. So grab your yarn, add it to your hook, and pull that on through both the side and the actual purse portion. Now we chain 1, let your tail fall, leave enough tail that you can do a knotted bind off on it and sew it in a bit. And we want to go into the same exact stitches again. So we're going to insert into the same stitches. And I'm going to do a single crochet. You could do a slip stitch as well. That would be perfectly fine. But I am just going to single crochet each stitch into the side of a row on the bag. And I'm going to work 1 single crochet just like that, all the way up. So you can pause here and meet up with me when you get to the end of this part of your messenger bag. When you meet the top, we can stop there and you can meet up with me again for going back here to this side and working the other side. We are now here. I've reached the top of the bag. So that is all the joining that I need to do for this point. Obviously, for those of you who want to try to avoid cutting your yarn as much as possible, if you wanted to, you could continue on with a single crochet on down your strap all the way over to the other side, but you would have to keep in mind that you have to stop that single crochet on the strap and start joining again. And that's why I don't do it that way. I'm one that I can forget what I'm doing and I'll single crochet way past where I need to, and then I have to pull a bunch of stuff out. So you can do it that way, but I'm going to show you the best way that for me anyway, and people who are like me. So now that I've reached this point and my side is now on the bag, on one side, we're going to chain up 2 and bind off again. So same bind off that you've already seen. Clip that yarn and cinch that down, leave enough tail so you can sew that in and hide it later. Now I want to return right back to the same place that we were when we started, the bottom. And again, I'm going to have to make sure that my bag is lined up. So it's just folding it back in place. I'm going to keep track of where our stitch marker is. Make sure that we have everything nice and flat and folded perfectly and lined up again. And just like before, we're going to join on going down here to the bottom. And I'm going to go into this next stitch. We've already joined to this yellow row. We want to go to the very next. Find the corresponding stitch on the other side, which is our side of our bag. And we're going to join on and begin our single crochet again. So we're in both parts of our bag, side and main body. Pull up a loop, chain 1. It's cotton yarn. It's a little stiff. Little tight to pull through that loop. I like to keep it tight though because I want a nice solid join. So we go back into that same exact stitch again, making sure we're doing that on the other side as well. It's important that we do. Same stitch. Move that so y'all can see. And we finish out the single crochet by pulling up a loop. And then grab and pull through all those little loops to do your regular run-of-the-mill single crochet. And we'll be back in just a moment when you have reached the stitch marker that's on the body of the bag. Once you reach the stitch marker, you're just going to bind off like we've already learned, and then you are going to go to the other side of the bag and repeat these exact same steps over there. One tip is to make sure, since you're going to have a much longer strap piece than what I'm showing you here, make sure that this doesn't get twisted. You want to make sure that it's laying nice and flat, and then bring it all the way over here. Obviously, you have to handle your tails on this side and work it in just like we did here. So that completes the actual construction of the messenger bag. So when you finish yours, you will have, turn it inside out, and you will have the right side back out with your sides, with your nice long strap. And you could technically stop here, and that could be your whole bag. But some extra that I wanted to throw in and show you is you could add in a liner, and you can add in some pieces for support to add more structure to your bag. This particular one that's in front of you right now is going to be used as a laptop bag. So I want lots of cushion, lots of support to make it as protective as possible. So these are optional steps. You, of course, do not have to do them. For the added support for the bag, I am using these reusable cutting mats. They're just plastic. They fold really easily. So I just made the mat to the thickness of the bottom of my bag. And I folded it there. Just simply creased it. Nothing spectacular. And then I did the same exact on the other side. When I place these in the bag, I am overlapping the bottom. And you, of course, could tape these together so that they stay in position. But once they're down in the bag and you have the liner in, these are not going to shift around. It's up to you, though. You could tape them. But you just line them together like I'm showing here. Line them up. And then you can place them down inside of the bag. Now I have the structure to my bag. And it makes it sturdier. That's what your inside's going to look like. And because of my folding and everything, once these are set down in place and the bag has the liner in, everything is perfect height. Just keep that in mind. You might have to trim yours down depending on what you're doing. Cardboard's another option, but you can't get it wet. These are at least a plastic, so I can get it wet, and then I can leave it out to dry after hand washing. For a liner, you can use any pattern. If you have old swatches lying around, or abandoned projects, I should say. I took an abandoned project, just didn't have time to finish, and I joined it together to create a liner. The thing is on this particular one, I am going to have the design on the inside of the bag. That's what I want to see. So when I stitched my sides together, which I simply just tied string from each side together all the way up the bag, and I've got to trim off the excess because this is just the liner. It's, you know, you don't have to be too crazy with it. Or you can just sew it together, or of course you can work in the round and just do an in the round piece that's going to act as your insert and liner for your bag. Completely up to you. But when we're ready to put it in the bag, the wrong side is to face us. I am leaving my tails on because it's just extra cushion, and I'm going to be joining this to the bag. So I am using the same color as the rest of the bag, so that I don't have a weird line of color up there. But when you look in, you're getting a completely different color on the inside of my bag. So you, of course, could be very matchy-matchy. You could do everything the same. You could do a different pattern, but the same colors, or you can be colorful and change it up and just do colors you like together. Completely up to you and lots of possibilities. So we're now going to place this inside the bag, and I'm going to quickly show you how to stitch this too. So we're going to bring it in, slide it on the inside. So our plastic pieces are inserted already. Now we put our liner piece in and just kind of scoot it down there to the bottom. And then you're going to line up the top edge with your bag, and you can begin to stitch. So we want to make sure we have all tails tucked in before we start to join. And now I am on the liner, and I'm going to go here where the side, strap, and top edge of the messenger bag all meet. So right here by our strap in that area, that's where I'm going to be placing my hook. Now, I'm just going to do a single crochet. This is now going to be the final top edge of your bag. So slip stitch or single crochet, it's completely up to you. You can choose to go in the complete stitch or into part of it. Again, that is up to you how you want to do this specific join. I am going to be working in the complete stitch. I'm going into the next stitch, finding the next stitch on the messenger bag and inserting into it. Pulling up a loop. Same down here, next stitch, into the next stitch on the messenger bag. And you just work all the way down like this, all the way around. So as you make your way around, you of course are not going to just be working with your liner and part of the bag. You're going to get to the point where you are going to be joining against the back side of the strap and the back side of the front flap of the messenger bag. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Main thing is we need to always make sure we are lined up. You're inside of your bag, the liner down, and you're going to make sure that it is in position and that this other side of the liner is lining up on the same row that you stopped with your strap join. So you want to look at to where you're stopping the join on your strap inside of the bag and follow that line down. That's where we're going to be lining up. So for me, I have made sure that I am lining up with the same color that I'm doing the join in, because that's where I want to make sure my stitches land. And I'll show you how you pick up one part of the loop in order to do that join. So we're going to come in closer. And as you can see, I've done the last available single crochet right here. And now my next stitch is going to line up to part of the actual back side of the strap. So I go into that stitch, tightening up my loop. You don't need a big old long loop like what I just showed there. So you tighten up just like normal. And keep in mind, this is the side of the bag right here at the strap. So we want to line up, and I am just going to pick up one part of a loop back here. So I am grabbing the closest loop on the back side of my work, and that's where my join is going to anchor. So now I bring my yarn around and I do a single crochet just like normal. So I pull up that loop and single crochet. Now I'm going to be moving right along. Next stitch on the liner to the next row on the actual strap. And I want to keep in line wherever I'm pulling up my loop. I want to try to stay straight. So I'm grabbing that next loop up and single crocheting right there. Next stitch, pick that up and look here to the back. We're going to be going into that next loop. So I'm just finding any loop back here attached to that strap area that I can work in. And trying to keep that straight is the main thing. So go into my next stitch and lining up again with this next loop back here. Picking up a loop and single crochet. And you'll start moving here to what is our flap area, and that'll be our last join that we have to do together. I'll show a few stitches of that part. Next stitch, and we're now starting to meet with the bag. So I'm paying attention to make sure that the line that I'm going to be picking up loops on is the correct line. I originally had stitch markers on this part of the bag. I've removed them. You might still have yours, so that will help be your guide, but otherwise you're just going to look at your work. And we look here, we see that this is the line or the row that we stopped joining. So I just pick up some loops and single crochet. Next stitch. Now I'm going to use that line as my guide, and I will pick up a loop here on the back side. Push that back so you can see. So I'm just picking up a loop on the back side of my work, making sure that I keep that line of stitches, that row, as the same row all the way down. You don't want to be inconsistent with this because you'll gather up your project and you'll have it joined in different places and it will not lay flat and fold correctly. So just make sure that you keep everything tucked down and that you use the same line as your guide back here. Make sure you're using that same one and you'll be fine. We'll have nothing to worry about. So let's take a look at what that join looks like when we fold our bag. Here on the other side, you cannot see it because we're just picking up a stitch here on the back side of the work. It's not causing any issues at all with the actual pattern on the other side. So once you finish that join all the way down, you're going to have a nice clean edge, and then your flap will still fold and function just as it's supposed to, and your bag will be lined. So after you complete the join on the inside of the bag and you've joined your liner, once you meet around and in that round, you can begin going up the side of the flap on the messenger bag, just doing a slip stitch on the side because this is our ending side. It's not as pretty at the ends once we've clipped off that yarn. So that's the way that I go about kind of giving that a nice little finished look. And here's the final result of the slip stitch all the way around the messenger bag flap. So I slip stitched all the way down here and up this other side. Hopefully you have enjoyed this tutorial or walkthrough making any pattern on my channel into a mosaic messenger bag. I will be releasing the flat tutorial next on the dyad stitch, but I am hoping you'll start with your bag body, which is where I would start, and then have this if this is the design you want to use for your side and your strap for your bag or for something else. So look for a new tutorial for the dyad stitch that can be worked flat or in the round coming up next week. As always, I really do appreciate you watching and watching the entire video. It is so helpful to me, and that is what keeps these videos coming out on this channel. So please make sure that you are hitting the thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please feel free to leave me a comment down below. That interaction does help boost my video and gets it recommended to a lot more people. So that always helps out the channel. And as always, thank you for watching. And until next time, bye for now.